will in fact have a tremendous impact on the citizens in Europe, but not only. It will inspire a lot of geographies.
Life is a rose.
Yes,
right?
life is a rose, yes. If you want to see it like that.
So it actually is possible.
Yes, it is possible.
Can I? I'll do that.
So one of the spirits that we are putting in place within Breakthrough is partnership. That's a key word. And we are partnering at each and every step. I believe is to consider the planet as an entire ecosystem that is to be respected, nurtured, protected, and consider that is the best gift for the next generation. So think about the next generation.
Big responsibility, right? There is a lot of pressure on your shoulders. People are looking up to you. How do you handle that in an organization like that?
I made this one.
Oh, thank you. Welcome back to The Switch, not another podcast. Here to educate you, to entertain you, and to make sure that we take the right steps in order to move forward to a greener, better, and more balanced world. I am here today in the studio, actually in Oslo, but no worries, I still have my amazing team with me, right? Yeah, of course I do. I am here at the Cleantech Capital Days, and we have the pleasure of having a very special guest that I have actually been eager to get on this show for a long time. Let me introduce this person to you. Today I have Dr. Planet with me here today. He is representing Breakthrough Energy Ventures, a company that invests in companies that leverage innovative technologies to help address climate change. His name is actually Eric Dusseux, but he is a medical doctor. We will tell you more about that. And he has a broad experience as a CEO of a medical device company. He's quoted in the US board member of Public and Private Companies nonprofit organization, chairman of a compensation committee, senior executive with demonstrated leadership success, including global executive committee membership in the pharmaceutical, vaccines, medical devices industries, and strategic consulting. Wow, that's a heavy introduction. Welcome, Dr. Planet.
Thank you. Good morning, Christina, and good morning to each and every one of you. Thank you for welcoming me today.
We have to dive into the Dr. Planet, but before that, I just want to introduce you a little bit to the concept. You know, we're educating, we're entertaining, so you're sitting here with me, a naive optimist with rebellic streaks. Of course, we need to use what? The bullshit buttons. Okay. But they didn't fly with us to Oslo, so we have bullshit paper and awesome paper. You are free to use them whenever you feel that something needs to change, or it's bullshit, or some kind of reaction that you have. You're French, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you know, the rebellic streak, you use that.
I can be rebellic.
Good. And then if you feel that something is really good and you want to elevate it, of course we should do that as well. And
Thank
then
you.
we push the green one. So eager to get going with you, but I have to dive into the first. Why Dr. Planet?
In fact, I'm a medical doctor, you said it, specialized in public health. I'm also a physical chemist and an MBA. And in fact, the climate change is now probably the most important public health factor that will matter in the next decades. So I decided to move to that field, in fact. Very young, and when I was a medical doctor, I was specialized in epidemiology and public health. And I dedicated my physical chemistry study in the air pollution chemistry and physics of the environment on purpose. And what is happening now on the global scale is in fact an invitation for all of us to collaborate. That's why, in fact, I'm now working on the net zero initiative. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that you actually bring back, because it is not, we're talking climate, but it is affecting very much our health and the way we're living. So I think it's a very important understanding to have moving into the conversations about climate.
Yeah, in fact, you're right. And I'm working with Breakthrough Energy Venture, which is a global fund, in fact, dedicated to clean tech. And we are focusing on all our efforts on mitigating the risk by introducing breakthrough technologies and to innovate in clean tech, but also to adapt and it is very important to improve the quality of life of people. And these are basically the two levers that we will pull in order to make our planet a sustainable one and improve the quality of life of everyone.
I look forward, and we're going to dive into these questions as well in a while. But first, I know the audience wants to get to know you a little bit more. So I'm going to introduce you to our concept, the Wheel of Questions. Are you ready for us to get to know you?
Ready, steady, and go.
Here we go.
Wheel of Questions. What would you sing at karaoke night?
In fact, I have the answer right away ready because one of our last parties at Breakthrough Energy, Breakthrough Energy Venture is part of Breakthrough Energy, so we are a lot of teams with public policy, catalyst, partnerships, and the venture fund. We had a karaoke, and in fact, we sang with our team a very nice one, which is La Vie en Rose.
Oh, I know that, yeah.
And why? Because we are optimistic people, and we believe that together we will change things. With net zero, there has never been any project of this scale, not even close. But together we will win, and that's why singing La Vie en Rose, which means a nice and
life is a rose.
Yes,
right?
life is a rose. Yes. If you want to see it like that, and if you act and behave so that it is rose, it will be rose. Yes.
Amazing. I love that song. I will actually add it to I have it to my list. I have a special list where I have songs that I can sing out loud.
Yeah.
And I will actually, I need to put it up higher up because it was a long time ago. It's
All
a beautiful.
All of us we need.
Yeah.
Put La Vie en Rose up. Yes.
Agreed. Great. Let's see what you get more of a questions from the wheel.
Wheel of Questions. What did you want to be when you were small?
Easy for me to answer because I have always been a medical doctor.
Well, the dream of being
Planet.
Dr. Planet now with the power of investment as well. So I think that it's interesting that the career of a doctor, the work of a doctor has always been such high up in the dreams and wishes of kids.
Yeah. It has, and it's part of the beauty of life is that we can support and be generous to each other and take care. And taking care matters for me. Yeah, so that's.
But I also think it says very much about you because many people have a dream, and there are not many people that actually make a dream true. Yeah. And you did, Dr. Planet.
Yes, and I am. And for the next 30, 40 years, I hope I will be acting for the sustainability of our planet. Yes.
Good. Let's dive in a little bit more about the organization that you are representing. For people who don't know what Breakthrough Energy Ventures is, what would you say? How would you explain the organization?
Yeah, thank you for this question. So the Breakthrough Energy Venture is a global fund, in fact, a $2.2 billion fund with a US funds, global funds, and European. Part of it is 100 million from Europe, in fact, for Europe. European fund, and we are investing in breakthrough technologies that are all dedicated to climate change and, in fact, clean tech. We want to have an impact on the climate change. So we invest in technologies when we think it will have a breakthrough impact on the climate change. And when it represents at least 1% of the problem, which is 0.5 gigaton equivalent CO2 per year.
Wow.
So it speaks a lot about how deep we want to change things. We are a team of company builders, in fact, backed by billionaires, coordinated by Bill Gates, who created that fund in 2016. And now we have invested in 105 companies. In all verticals, so working on agriculture and food, working on manufacturing, working on energy, transport, and buildings.
And I guess that those were also the areas that you have seen that need to develop mostly, correct?
Yes, exactly. In fact, we are investing in whatever technology that is needed in order to diminish the greenhouse gas emissions or recapture emissions, and now to adapt to the change and climate change.
When we talk about investments connected to avoiding climate disaster, what kind of investments? You're mentioning these companies, but what kind of investments are we talking about actually?
Yeah, I can take an example. In fact, today we are launching Clean Tech for Nordics, an association, a coalition, in fact, of investors and stakeholders in the Nordic region. We've just announced a few months ago, in fact, an investment in Denmark, in a great company doing methanol fuel cell technology to power boats, ships, in fact, in the maritime industry. That is a company that is, in fact, has a potential to completely change the way maritime is impacting the greenhouse gas emissions. Maritime industry is 3 to 5% of the greenhouse gas emissions per year. The container industry, 65% is owned by 5 groups, and among those 5 groups, 4 are headquartered in Europe. So it tells you a lot about how we can do and how we see things. We can have technologies ready to be implemented at the customer level, which would be here the shipment company, those company, and you have great companies in the Nordic region for that, doing shipping and doing technology for shipment and boats. So yes, it's this integrated view that makes the difference.
I mean, I'm representing one of the companies that you have been invested in, Basel Capital, and I know that we are very proud. And I know how you have been helping us through the transition, not only investing, but also with a lot of intellectual property and so on. What do you wish to achieve when you invest in one of your portfolio companies? What are the hopes? In fact,
all of us are company builders. So we were entrepreneurs, or we are, in fact, supporting also the management team. We want to make sure that the technology is number one at the best science, and number two, utilized. That's the US Energy Agency spirit, which is if it works, who uses it? So we want to make sure that the technology will be used and will be scaled up. Scaling up is of utmost important because we want to change things. So whenever we support a company, we help this company by funding, but also by supporting the management about the vision and also the scaling up plan. So we are also part of Breakthrough Energy. So beyond Breakthrough Energy Venture, which is a for-profit fund, we have branches of Breakthrough Energy that are philanthropic. We have a program, Fellows, that is in fact supporting the innovators. So when there is an idea, but not yet a company, or not yet a prototype, we support innovators. We provide them with up to $4 million grant. It's a grant to help them build their companies. So we help them. Then the fund, Breakthrough Energy Ventures, can invest at the seed level, Series A, Series B, and later even, if needed. And we have other funds, in fact, Catalyst and partnerships, where we can support the companies that are in industries hard to decarbonize. And here it's more project funding. We're doing that through partnerships also.
Interesting. One of the things that actually makes Breakthrough Energy Ventures different than other organizations is that you have a very long investment time, right? Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you are thinking? Because you're taking risk early and you are, it's still a long time investment.
Yeah, it is definitely. So the term for the fund is 20 years, which is very unusual, in fact, and which is providing to all of us on the investment side some serenity. Of course, we're looking for profit with the fund, but having time helps a lot, in fact, in the way we deploy those fundings.
Do we, as the world, invest enough in order to reach climate goals?
That's a key question. In fact, there are several numbers that or studies that you can help to support answering this question. There was a report elaborated by McKinsey earlier this year in January that is assessing that in order to reach net zero by 2050, the world needs to invest every year $9.2 trillion.
Wait, $9.3 trillion per year?
Yeah, $9.2 trillion per year, yes, in order to reach net zero by 2050, between now and 2050, yes.
Is that even possible?
Yeah, in fact, yes, we are not that far in the investment that we're doing. They assessed, in fact, that based on what is already being invested in the clean tech, and that's not that good. Based on what is currently being invested in the fossil fuel, we are missing by this 9.2 mark by 3.5 trillion. So the world needs 3.5 trillion more investment and the conversion of these fossil fuel infrastructure investments into clean tech in order to reach those 9.2 trillion that would help us to reach net zero by 2050.
So it actually is possible?
Yes, it is possible.
Can I? I'll do that. That gives me hope.
And I can second you for that.
Okay, good. I'm happy to. Happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that you say that it's possible. Still, it gives me like the chills. What happens if like something, for example, a financial crisis or something else happens now that actually pulls away the attention from the climate? What can happen then? This is a scary question.
Yeah, it is scary, but I told you there is hope. La vie en rose.
La vie en rose, yeah.
And in order to be successful, we need to be together. As I said, there has never been a project of this scale, even close. So one of the spirit that we are putting in place within Breakthrough is partnership. That's a key word. And we are partnering at each and every step. We're doing public and private partnerships. We are announcing partnership with private companies such as the Boston Consulting Group, American Airlines, ArcelorMittal. So these are public-private partnerships with also public companies, so public organizations such as the European Commission. We're doing the very same with the UK government, the US Energy Agency. So you see, by doing partnerships, we bundle and join forces, and that is in case there is a crisis, in case there's always bumpy road. Huh? There's no such thing like easy road all the time. By being together, we will win. So that's the spirit. We're partnering with innovators. We're granting them with the fellow program, and it's now the second cohort of programs that we're funding. We have among the last cohort, there was a Swedish project, a very nice one. Told you we are investing also in promising companies. So that this investment is a Danish company, Blue World Technology, on a methanol fuel cell for maritime. And we have 105 of these investments. And then doing so also with the Catalyst program, we are also, in fact, helping the companies to scale up so that they are ready. We have announced a grant, in fact, to LanzaJet, which is a company in the US doing alcohol, sustainable aviation fuel, a grant of 50 million so that they can scale up and be ready to produce, because the airline industry is not using a lot of sustainable aviation fuel. It's a matter of few percent now, and we want that to be exponentially increasing in the coming years. So yes, by being together, public and private partnerships, we can do a lot.
I agree with you, but I need to push this one. And I need to say, because I think it's an important thing to say here that often when I'm sitting and discussing these subjects with people, I always encounter the silos of the policy, the government, the companies, and the investors. It's always the breaches between. And I feel that the conversation is not 100% flowing between this to really, really make sure that we actually act on something and not just talk. And that's why I pushed the button. What is your comment? What do we need to do in order for people to actually tear down the barriers and actually start talking?
Yeah, in fact, it's in many ways we are showing the way by building Breakthrough Energy. I told you there are several teams. And one of these teams is a public policy team. It's more than 100 people, working professionals, working in the US. We have a team of 10 in Europe, working on public policy. Half of them is in Paris, half of them is in Brussels. And they're helping us to shape the mindset of our counterparts, regulators, politicians, decision makers, senior management of Fortune 500, startup and innovators. So we are in fact not only investing, but also making sure that we have roadmaps and we can help and enable this change to happen with the regulator and the public decision makers.
Actually, you just not recently, but you moved into Europe. This has started in the States, of course, and now it moved into Europe. Is there any specific plan what we want to do in Europe for Breakthrough Energy Ventures?
Yeah, well, in fact, yes, Breakthrough Energy is a global fund. So we invest in many geographies. We have invested obviously in the US, we have invested in Europe, in Africa. So we're investing wherever we think innovation is, and we believe in the innovation that is created locally, and that innovation needs to be scaled up and shared with the world and developed into the world. So yes, we're doing a lot. We have a team in Europe for the investment team, and we are also a policy team, as I said, working together with the global team, yes.
You have power in your hands. You have influencers backing you up, important people. And I see that people are gathering around Breakthrough Energy Venture. So whenever Breakthrough Energy Venture is somewhere, there is like flies on sugar around. How do you take care of this? I mean, because it's a big responsibility, right? There's a lot of pressure on your shoulders. People are looking up to you. How do you handle that in an organization like that?
Yeah, I made this one.
Oh, thank you.
Flies around the sugar is not appropriate to what people are doing with us. In fact, we have partners. And what we're doing is, in fact, we have a lever effect. So whenever we invest one, at the end of the day, for the companies, it's about 10 that they benefit from. So yes, we are inspiring a lot of investments with partners that are in fact pioneers in this field and who would like to take risk and would like to make change happen. So yes, it's a coalition of investors, public and private, that we move and with whom we share the vision, the very same vision, which is net zero by 2050, and having this change happening as fast as possible. And in all geographies.
I think it's really inspiring how you guys are taking one step at a time. And as I said, people look to you. It is, you are doing a great job. And I think that it's actually trickling down. And I see that many other investors are also are getting inspired through this. I mean, we are here at Cleantech Scandinavia, right?
Yeah.
And we have actually talked yesterday about a coalition. You mentioned it a little bit earlier. Would you like to say a couple of words about the coalition and what the hopes is for it?
Yes, as we said, we need a lot of energy, a lot of funding matters in EU, in Europe. In 2021, there was 11 billion being invested in clean tech, which is more than double 2020. So it's good. There's a move. In the European region, UK is attracting 25% of the fund. Then it's Germany, 15%, France, 10%. Then we see Sweden with 6%, and then Denmark and Norway with 3%, and Finland with 2%. So that's the portrait for 2021. We can do a lot more, a lot better, in fact. As I said, by working together, having what we called yesterday during the meeting, and I liked a lot, in fact, a unified voice for Nordics. I believe really in sharing the same vision and sharing risk and sharing technologies across the Nordic region would be a plus for this region. Talking to the regulator and the public decision maker would make also a lot of sense, and securing the environment for the entrepreneurs. Being an entrepreneur is a tough job. It is very difficult. I've been myself an entrepreneur for startups. It's whatever you can do to ease their way with the regulation and public policies is also enabling their task. And that's why we have this public policy team also very active in Europe.
It's going to be very interesting to follow and see what kind of stones we can actually move in order to be able to actually push the innovations and clean tech industry forward. Talking about that, what kind of barriers for development of the net zero for 2050 is there?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And in fact, the International Energy Agency has a roadmap for 2050. And they say roughly and that 50% of the progress that we need to make will be made through technologies that are already existing.
50%.
50%, yes. So it's wind, it's solar, it's electric vehicle, for instance. They say 5 to 10% will be the change of consumer behavior on citizens, obviously. We can all choose or not to use.
Only 5%?
5 to 10%,
5
yes.
to 10, yeah.
It's also based on what people are willing to do. It's knowledge, attitude, belief, and practice. So it's not because you know it is useful that you are good that you will do it and enforce it. So so 5 to 10% take into account this knowledge, attitude, belief, and translating into practice. So yes. And the rest is innovation, and it's technologies that are still to be invented or to be deployed and scaled up at scale.
So 40 to 45% is to be.
Yeah, between now and 2050, and that's why we're working on that with the investors around the world. The one obviously around the table for clean tech for Nordics. That's an important, in fact, task that we have, which is to detect innovation, foster in a climate of innovation, in fact, in each and every geography, in emerging countries, in more advanced economies. That's important. We learn from emerging countries, we learn from more advanced economies, and we share these technologies, and then be ready to scale it up. And make sure that whenever it's a good idea, it's being enforced and used.
Actually, that was answering my last question I had for you on this part. Can investors accelerate positive impact, and how exactly? I think that you just answered that question.
Yeah, they do, and all of us, in fact, will matter. Right? It's us as citizens when we vote, because we are shaping the mindset of the politicians by our vote. It's also us as consumer. What are the choices we want to make or not for climate change? It's us as investors. It's us as senior management of Fortune 500. It's us as entrepreneur. It's us as citizen of the world, contributing between geographies and fostering coalitions and making sure that technologies can be used everywhere whenever it's needed and are accessible and affordable. That is a very important one. And the green premium needs to be covered in order to have a switch of technology. So all of that is basically in our hands. Together.
You heard Dr. Planet. It's in your hands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in our hands.
It's time for a question from the future. Let's see and hear what they have to ask Eric today.
Questions from our future.
What do you want me to do different than your generation?
That's a very good one. I believe is to consider the planet as an entire ecosystem that is to be respected, nurtured, protected, and consider that is the best gift for the next generation. So think about the next generation. Would be probably the best advice for these kids.
Did we fail them doing that?
For sure, we didn't show a right example so far. We're trying, in fact. And I see a lot of energy everywhere by many people, many different people in many geographies, coming from different backgrounds, realizing that it matters and we have to focus our efforts on that. And that's a personal choice I made, and that's what we're doing at Breakthrough Energy.
I think that's a very, very good thing to think about. Not think about the next generation, but the generation after that, because that's how long things actually affect us.
Yeah.
Very good.
Definitely.
Eric, are you ready for some uncomfortable conversations?
I am.
Good.
Uncomfortable conversations.
We need to reduce our annual emissions from 51 billion tons to 0, but we haven't decreased them by a single ton. This is an uncomfortable conversation. Why is that, and what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, so number one, there is a hope. The very recent data from International Energy Agency, in fact issued a few days ago, last week, showed that defying expectation. Last year was a very minimal increase in CO2 emissions. So that was surprising enough. It's only 300 million tons on top of what was emitted the year before, which was about 1/10 of what was expected as an increase. So it's obviously it's not done, but it shows. And the IRA, so the International Energy Agency, relates that to the a better use of renewable energies that are already available, such as wind and solar. So there's hope, and we are using that. We're not doing enough, but we head into the right direction when we invest in those clean tech technologies, and when we take and we enforce good public policies. So there is hope. Yes, we will make it. We have to change the way we collaborate, because there has never been a project of this scale, not even close. So we need to cooperate, and we need to make sure that we take all the chances to be successful.
What uncomfortable conversations do we need to have in order to move this forward?
We need to make sure as citizens that we are responsible, and when we vote, we take the right decisions. As consumers and as investors, all of us, we invest on our daily life, and we need to make sure that the decision makers, are they public or private, they represent the interest of the planet also whenever they take a decision.
It's interesting. We're talking about investors like Breakthrough Energy Ventures an investment fund, but actually I as a person can invest in the climate in our Mother Earth as well, making decision on where I buy my sofa or where how much I have my screen on and so on.
Yeah, and all of us, we have a great power, and that will matter, and it will in fact impact a lot more of the decision makers if we make responsible choices. Yes, so we do have to integrate in our daily lives those decisions.
Isn't that an uncomfortable conversation that hasn't been had? Like the importance of each and everyone's actual decision and investment, everyone from the government head in a country to an individual person. Is that, do we put too much responsibility on the common, like on the group? Do we not have enough responsibilities put on the individual?
No, in fact, yes, each and every one of us, we have considerable power to act locally, but there are decisions that need to be made regionally or globally, so we are part of it. And as I said, for the IEA, the International Energy Agency, 5 to 10% is depending on these consumer choices made at an individual level. But the rest will be more collective. And we have, as a system, as an ecosystem, public policy and private, we have to act so that we behave in a responsible manner to ensure the sustainability of the planet, including individual decisions.
Thank you. We've been talking a lot about collaboration. Who should be doing this collaboration?
That's a very good question, Christina. I take an example, if you agree. Obviously, you've heard about REPower EU and the difficulty for Europe, in fact, to have a sustainable sources of energy. So EU issued a REPower EU policy, in fact, and there's a lot at stake. We are now, in fact, and the debate is really a great one, because we want to make sure that energy security happens for all the European member states. And that debate is, in fact, impacting the clean tech and the climate change, because we have to make decisions now to ensure that during the winter there is enough energy, and the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years. And those choices that we'll make now, that are being made, can boost, in fact, the clean tech and the innovation. So we are fostering with a lot of stakeholders within Europe those decisions now, and I see here a great change. It is gelling. I mean, we see this energy around energy security translating into good decision for climate tech, clean tech. It's not only good decisions, because there are decisions that need to be made for the next 3 months or 5 months, and obviously, if we are not ready with some innovations, we can't scale them up. But we can take all the efforts, and we can put all our energies so that it happens, and it happens faster. And what I see now is a lot of these good decisions being formed.
So we're actually talking about collaboration on a political level here as well.
For instance, yes, but not only political. It's as I said, public and private partnerships that will help. We need those large companies within Europe and globally to help us. We need the entrepreneurs, the startups to make it happen, and customers to take the right decision. So and citizens, in fact. So all of us, yes, this impact on our daily life of the fear to lack of energy and which may be real, of course, if we don't take the right decision, is an enabler for this change towards net zero.
Now we are at the point where you get to give sunshine to an organization, an initiative, or someone that you think is doing a great job that needs to be heard of. Who would you pick?
Sunshine.
I would like to encourage and pick European decision makers. They have in their hands now with REPower EU, in fact, key choices. And those choices that are made now in Europe will in fact have a tremendous impact on the citizens in Europe, but not only. It will inspire a lot of geographies. And the way we will put in place, in fact, those decisions for the next 10, 15, 30 years will have a huge influence on those decisions that are taken at a global scale. So yes, I would encourage the EU decision makers to foster into more collaboration, be bolder even into their decisions to introduce clean tech innovations and scale up at a much larger and quicker rhythm, yes.
I would love to see that as well. So my sunshine agrees with your sunshine. And of course, my sunshine goes to you for being here, for attending The Switch, not another podcast. Thank you very much. What do you bring with you from today's conversation?
You see, at Breakthrough Energy Ventures, we have hope in the future. We believe that technology and innovation can impact a lot, in fact, and make sure that our planet is a sustainable one and prosperous also, because it matters for the quality of life of each and every one, whatever geography we live in. So yes, it was a great moment to think, and I think the format of this podcast is really helpful to cover all the aspects of all the dimensions of this important matter, which is how to protect our planet.
Did The Switch inspire you in any way to do something even more bolder, different?
Yes, we need, and you see that with the last 2 days at Capital Day and Clean Tech for Nordics launch. We see that the time we spend together, regulators, public decision makers, private companies, investors, has a tremendous impact on our decision. And I see when I see the discussion that we had at the panel today about what we should bring as investors to the community, it is very inspiring. So yes, spending more time to discuss, get inspired by people, get inspired by innovators, by entrepreneurs, by scientists, and by bold public decision makers.
You heard it from Dr. Planet, Erik Dusseux. Thank you very much for attending The Switch, not just another podcast. And I hope that you who have been listening or watching this also got inspired and understood the connection between the bigger picture and your responsibility. I 100% believe that we can actually be a part of making the switch. That's why we do this podcast, to educate, to entertain you, in order for you to be inspired and to do the right thing. If you like this, subscribe. If you think that someone else would like it, share it. And please comment, be with us and talk to us so that we together can develop this platform, The Switch, not just another podcast. Until I meet you next time, take care. And please, if you can, someone else as well. See ya.